So for those of you keeping track, Democrats can absolutely control the weather, but we cannot get a filibuster-proof majority in either chamber of Congress. We may want to rethink how we reallocate our time there.
Yeah, well, if the Democrats could get a bit more sun over here, that would definitely be appreciated.
All right, I'll see what I can do. It will help grease the wheels if you have some bombs to give us. That's just kind of a thing we like. Hello, everyone, and welcome to A Very Special Relationship, the podcast that answers the question, what if things were chaotic in a slightly different accent? I'm your host, Andrea Bridges-Smith, and with me from the Interesting Times is Matt Johnston. Matt, I know things are definitely not boring over here. What about over there?
Yeah, well, they're certainly getting a bit interesting over here as well, which isn't a word I would use to describe Keir Starmer, but there you go. So we are in the middle of handing over the Chagos Islands. Now, I won't insult you or any of our listeners by pointing out where the Chagos Islands are. In the Indian Ocean.
Yes, we'll get a map up here on the screen. Real quick question. How did you come into the possession of the Chagos Islands in the first place, or should we maybe not mention that?
How do we come into the possession of anything located around the Indian Ocean? Come on, you know better than to ask that. Well, I mean, okay. Apparently, they weren't inhabited, and then we inhabited them with some people to work for us. We'll probably skip over that bit. I'm not sure if we took them from the French. I know we took Mauritius, who are handing the islands back. Well, I say back. We're handing the islands to Mauritius,
Okay.
which is the nearest government. But I know we took Mauritius from the French because
Ah.
that's why it's called Mauritius, just down to the French. Anyway, there we go. So that's not the interesting bit, would you believe? But over 50 years ago, we, the British, threw out round about 1,000 Chagosians at the request of you, the Americans, because
Oh.
you want to build a top secret military base there, right? So it seems like perfectly reasonable, right? Pack up your stuff, everyone. In fact, don't pack up your stuff because the Yanks are in a hurry. Come on, let's go. Everybody off.
Well, we do have a lot of munitions to spread around. I mean, these places aren't going to bomb themselves, am I right?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. So some of these Chagosians moved to Mauritius, which is the nearest government, and others settled in the UK, but they never gave up hope. And in 2017, a mere 44 years after the original expulsion, the UN sent the case to the International Court of Justice, who in 2019 said, hey, Britain, give back the islands, which we're basically going to do.
Well, it sounds like all that got done in a timely manner. Well done to everyone involved.
Absolutely. Our last colony in Africa, would you believe? The empire is dead. Long live the empire. Because, in a twist as obvious as it is cruel, Diego Garcia, who is not only the bass player in Santana, but also the name of the US military hush hush, nothing to see here base, and not only the largest island, but also the only one inhabitable, and it's going to remain with the Americans. The Chagosians won't be allowed to return there. We've effectively thrown these people off the island at your request and are keeping them off at your request because, game recognizes game.
And we would like to thank you for your help by giving you 2 minutes in one of our weapons factories and a very large shopping cart.
Very large, yes. Also, it's Sue Gray, who I'm sure you've definitely heard of, right? I mean, people are calling her the Chagos Islands of the UK government. She's resigned from her post as Chief of Staff at Number 10.
Oh, already. She's been in that role for about 10 minutes now. How positively Trussian.
Absolutely. She's basically the Chief of Staff. It's an unelected role and comes with some very nice perks, including a salary of £170,000 a year, which is 3 grand more than Keir Starmer makes.
Wow.
But that's not the reason that people, certainly over here, are aware of Sue Gray. It's because she's the one that drafted the report into the Downing Street parties, which went some way to getting rid of our illustrious buffoonist ex-Prime Minister Boris Johnson.
Oh, okay. So I think maybe I'm a fan of hers.
Yeah. And the reason that this is important is that Johnson and a few other senior Tories are saying that this was a stitch up. It's certainly bad timing, but it could mean return of the blob, possibly. Watch this space.
Oof.
It's worth pointing out as well that Johnson's currently got a book out. He's doing all the tours. I think he saw him do one on CNN the other night with Jake Tapper.
Oh,
But
okay.
basically, Jake Tapper does what Jake Tapper does and calls him out on all the lies that he told.
I'll have to check that one out. That sounds good.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just like, how do you think this was going to go? Anyway,
Right.
the one thing I can guarantee you, well, assure you, well, maybe possible, is that Johnson won't be the next leader of the Tory party. They're down to the last three: Kemi Badenoch, Robert Jenrick, and James Cleverly, and down to two today. Hang on, I'll tell you what, I'm going to check the website. Oh, wow. Oh, that's amazing. Absolutely extraordinary. Sorry. Everything pointed to the fact that James Cleverly was going to sort of be the man to beat, as it were. He was ahead, but he's now been knocked down. So it's down to Kemi Badenoch and Robert Jenrick. Basically, a
Wow.
pair of right wing. You got Kemi Badenoch, the transphobic, or Robert Jenrick, the racist. I mean, take your pick.
Wow. Wow. That's two terrific options to choose
Yes.
from. Now, how are they going to make the final decision? I assume the two of them will have to engage in some sort of like gladiator type wrestling thing. There's going to
How
be,
about death? Oh, if only. No, no, I don't mean that.
yeah.
No. Now, what's going to happen? I think it's going to go all the way now to 2nd November, because I think I mentioned this the other week, down to the last two of them. But this, up until now, only the MPs have been allowed to vote. But from now on, all the Conservative members who have like the average age is something like 65 or something, they're going to decide on the next Tory leader. So it's going to be interesting, certainly. But I think it kind of doesn't matter because whoever comes in, people are still going to dislike the Tories. That's it.
Well, we've always got that to rely on, and that's very refreshing, I think.
Yeah, very much continuing with the brand there. But anyway,
Yes.
enough of these shenanigans. Tell me, Andrea, what about the US? Are there any more October surprises happening? By the way, I'm hearing that term more and more. I definitely think we should use it over here. Absolutely.
So there is one October surprise that we haven't covered, and I'm sure it will be your favorite one to talk about because it involves the weather.
Oh, yes. Yes, it's one thing we British love to do is talk about the weather. It's about the only way that we can do any small talk, that and football, as you guys call it, soccer. But anyway, seriously, in all seriousness, I'm seeing the devastation that Hurricane Helene is doing. So I'm hoping everyone is staying safe. Am I pronouncing that right?
Helene, if you have a French degree, like some of us. But I think we've been pronouncing it Helene because that's what we do over here. We take the pronunciations of things and turn it to our purposes. So yes, just 2 weeks ago, Hurricane Helene hit the southeastern U.S. It was a huge storm that made landfall in Florida, but it had devastating effects all the way up to North Carolina. And so, for some context for our British listeners, picture a hurricane hitting Solway Coast and having it decimate the Shetland Islands, like all the way up there.
I mean, first of all, thank you for making me Google Solway Coast. And for any UK listeners like myself that never leave London, it's basically Carlisle. But yes, that's a huge distance, two countries worth, really.
Yes, so naturally there's this very big recovery operation going on. Everyone's trying to dig out of the debris and get people the help that they need. But the effort has gotten very political. I'm sure it will not surprise you to know that Donald Trump has been complaining that the Biden administration isn't doing enough to help people, even though they're doing loads while Trump isn't doing anything. And what's worse is his campaign is putting out so much misinformation on social media that it's causing people to call in to these disaster assistance offices. And they're like, what, is this true? I'm only going to get $750, and my house was destroyed. And they're like, no, 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 that's not true. And all of these phone calls that they're getting are kind of preventing people who are, trying to get the help from getting the help that they need. Now, I know it is hard to imagine one of Trump's lies leading to actual consequences, but, just try to picture that for a minute.
Horrendous, really horrendous. Obviously, Helena is itself the hurricane, but also there are other people in the world besides you, Donald. I saw that $47 scam him and Musk have got going on, getting somebody to register in a swing state. Like, with all this money, think about all the good that you can do. But I realise that's a bit of an alien concept.
It is, and it's, I think, very rich for this guy to say, oh, Biden's not doing anything. Biden's not doing anything. It's like, Aren't you a billionaire? Don't you have a country club that you could sell off to give
Yeah.
some money to these poor people who have lost everything? Oh, you're not going to do that? Oh, you're just going to lie instead? Oh, well, that's very helpful. Thank you so much, and go fuck yourself. Now, one of the other sources of misinformation is Miss Marjorie Taylor Greene, everyone's favorite blonde bombshell, who insists that Democrats and/or Jews, they're the same really in her mind, have a machine that can control the weather, and they are deploying this machine to send hurricanes to red states. So, for those of you keeping track, Democrats can absolutely control the weather, but we cannot get a filibuster proof majority in either chamber of Congress. We may want to rethink how we reallocate our time there.
Yeah. Well, if the Democrats could get a bit more sun over here, that would definitely be appreciated.
All right, I'll see what I can do. It will help grease the wheels if you have some bombs to give us. That's just kind of a thing we like. Now, 2 weeks after the last hurricane, there is another storm coming right at Florida. And this one looks like it's going to be even bigger than the last one. And to give you some idea of just how bad this one is looking, there was a meteorologist that was talking about it during a news broadcast, and he started crying, which I don't think was a good sign.
No. As you say, never a good sign. I mean, Florida tends to get this sort of weather a lot, doesn't it? Because of where it's located, obviously, Anyway, so what's the latest for the good people affected in the area right now?
So right now, everybody is trying to evacuate. There are mandatory evacuation orders. And the storm is supposed to make landfall tonight. And the mayors in the towns in this area have said, if you don't end up evacuating, write your information on your arm with a Sharpie so that we can identify your body afterwards, because you will not survive this. Now, that is a pretty grim sentiment, and this is a comedy podcast. So before we dive back in, we're just going to do a quick little palate cleanser. So I just want to talk about this runaway goat in Canada named Joshua. So Joshua escaped, and there was a marathon nearby, and he wound up joining in and ended up finishing. They just were like, oh, he's pretty close to the finish line. Let's just let him finish. And they ended up giving him a medal. So may we all have the tenacity of Joshua the marathon goat.
Oh, that's incredible. Plus, and I don't know if you know this, I'll be honest, I wasn't aware of this until people started talking about it on Twitter. But did you know that GOAT is actually an acronym for greatest of all time?
Yes.
Do you guys have that in America? Yeah.
Yes.
So effectively, he's the GOAT of goats, right?
He is indeed. He is indeed. Okay. Let's get back to our October surprises. So thinking about, what do these two hurricanes mean for the presidential race? It means a few things. So far in this race, the biggest issues have mostly been eggs are too expensive, there are too many brown people, and dudes are all up in my uterus and not in the fun way. So one of the issues that has been lower down on the list has been climate change. It hasn't been getting quite as much attention because of what's going on with the economy. So these back-to-back hurricanes, and fingers crossed that we're done after this, it is putting that issue back front and center. And old Donald Drill Baby Drill Trump has a slightly worse record on that issue than Kamala Harris, which I know must come as a huge October surprise to you.
Wow. Yeah. These are obviously all quite important. Less than a month now, isn't it?
Yes, and that brings us to our next point, which is the voting. Early voting has already started in some places. It will be ramping up over the next few weeks. And for Florida, how do you vote when your polling location is now a pile of rubble floating in some water? How do you answer the poll workers when they ask, are you still at this address, when your address has been wiped off the face of the earth? Voting is about to get very chaotic in that region. And in fact, if you wanted to sum up the past few months of this election season, hurricane of chaos would be a pretty good way to describe it.
Oh dear, yeah, not good.
Yeah,
Not good
okay, we're starting to get a little bit grim again. So Matt, you got any palate cleansers to offer our poor audience now that we've bummed them the hell out?
Yes, I spotted something, I think it was on the Mirror website. And now this is interesting. Did you know Melania has a book out?
Oh, yes. Oh,
All right.
yes.
You may or may not. I guess it's making all the sorts of news over there. Maybe another October surprise. I don't know. Um, but she mentioned in an interview that she's become pen pals with our very own King Charles. They bonded over their mutual, deep-rooted commitment to, you'll love this story, environmental conservation. And you're like, why can't she have that conversation with Trump?
I did not know that she was such a staunch environmentalist, primarily because there is no evidence to suggest that whatsoever. That is very interesting that her and King Charles are pen pals. That's
Yeah. Do you think that she's just saying that and he's getting letters saying things like, please help? He's like, oh, this must be about the environment again, get me out of
yes,
here. Oh,
maybe.
no, this is one of those things. Yes.
Yeah,
Now
and
I'm
he's like, she must be talking about the ice caps, and it's like, no, she's talking about Mar-a-Lago. She needs an extraction team, Charles. Let's go.
well, finishing on a slightly darker note. Apparently King Charles and Donald Trump had a bit of a falling out. I'm saying apparently,
Oh,
but you probably would guess the reason why, in fact. Going back a good decade or so, I think, Kate had some topless pictures printed in like a French publication. Do you remember that?
Kate the Princess or Kate the
Yes,
Princess of Wales?
yes.
Oh, okay, okay.
People over here were going, how absolutely outrageous, the press over here were going, how absolutely outrageous that people should take these disgusting pictures of Kate. That's our job. Bloody French. Um, but Trump actually
Immigrants
turned
stealing
around and
jobs again.
yeah, yeah. Trump actually turned around and said he thought it was Kate's fault. He thought she was flaunting it, sort of thing. And you're like, wow, wow, really? Wow. Just wow on so many levels.
On brand, extremely on brand. Yeah, I don't understand what sort of Faustian bargain Melania has had to make to stay married to this person, but I guess it helps that they're almost never in the same room. Speaking about her book, I don't know if you heard, but she came out in her book as a staunch defender of abortion rights. Did you see that one
Oh,
coming?
interesting. Okay.
But yeah, I find this really interesting because she might have spoken up about this just a smidge sooner. That might have
Yeah.
been interesting. A lot of people are saying, okay, why is she talking about this now? And
Mm.
the cynical explanation would be Donald Trump is losing badly on the abortion issue. He is bleeding support with women. And this is a cynical ploy by her to try and make him look more moderate on the issue by saying, "Oh, my wife says this is
Right.
okay, and I'm fine." And people are like, "What do you mean he lets you believe whatever you want? Like that's 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 not how it works. Like, of course you get to believe whatever you want."
Yeah.
But yes, the cynical explanation is that this has been very well timed, a little October surprise from his campaign to be like, see, I'm not so
Yes.
bad, even though we all know he is that bad.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, hopefully, not too many. How are you coping anyway, Andrea? Obviously, as I say, less than a month to go.
I am freaked out.
Right.
It's so stressful. It's so stressful for the election to go on for this long, to be this close for this long.
Yeah.
And every day there's a new poll that comes out that's like, oh, Trump's up. No, Kamala Harris is up. No, Trump is. No, and it's way too close for comfort. With all of these things coming out, these there's just been so much news to keep track of, and so many big surprises, like another one just came out yesterday that apparently during COVID, Donald Trump sent Putin some some COVID testing equipment for his own personal use, and they've been talking on the phone ever since he left office. And it's like, you know, in a normal news cycle, that would be like the biggest news ever. But
Yeah.
this particular week, Florida is about to disappear into the water, so we don't have as much time for it, you know? So it's just every day there is a gigantic news story coming out that has huge implications for the election, and
Mhm.
we can't even process it before the next one happens. And so just the sheer volume of big news combined with the nail biting of the election, it's getting to be a lot. You know, I think after the election, I'm going to take a week off, and I'm
Absolutely. I think
really going to
so.
try to unplug from the whole rest of the world. Well,
Yeah.
I say after the election, we don't know if we are going to have a result on election day. It's more likely that it'll be a few days after. You know, who knows at this point if it could be weeks after. We don't know. We could be in suspense for a very long time. But once that suspense period is over, I'm definitely going to take a week off and maybe spend that in a cave.
3 weeks. I would recommend 3 weeks. Absolutely, honestly, and I'm being very serious about this. You work so hard and stuff. I absolutely say that it's 3 weeks minimum. Go
Okay. Okay.
really detox because you want to. 1 week's not enough time. You're going to come back and then sort of do, I'm gonna have a look at this. Don't pick up a paper. Don't turn on the news. Binge watch your favorite shows for 3 weeks and then come back and
Okay.
have a look at it.
All right. Dr. Matt's prescription, just
There we
for
go.
me and for all of us. Let's all 3 weeks. We need 3 weeks off.
Excellent. All right. So thank you, everyone. That's all the time we've got for this week. But for more American politics, remember, as we've been talking about, less than 1 month until the election, then subscribe right here on Andrea's channel. You're already here, so might as well click the button. That's at Phoenix News. And for the British stuff, you can find me at my channel at theinterestingtimes.co.uk. And we'll do it all again next week, Andrea, shall we?
Sounds good. I will not have any fingernails left. It'll be fun.
Take care, everyone.
Bye bye.